Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of this thing that we call Back on Tangent. I'm introducing this one for some reason. I guess Blake was just too lazy or handsome to have to deal with this anymore. Today we are going to talk about a little known show by a guy named Dan Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, you may already be aware of it, but for anyone who's not, it's about a wily science genius type person who takes their grandkids on strange and weird adventures through time and space and all that sort of jazz. I'm of course talking about the Tuggle twins.
What? Kyle, what a misdirect.
I know.
I thought we were talking about Rick and or Morty. What is going...
Yeah,
so...
that was a really good intro, wasn't it?
So for backstory for everyone.
See how we tricked you all?
So the Tuggle twins...
The Tuggle twins. Blake, do you want to explain what the Tuggle twins is for everyone? I've done my bit.
I absolutely...
Time to sit back and relax.
I absolutely would love to. So, the Tuggle twins... some backstory. I discovered this show via a YouTube ad, of all things.
Wow.
And I was searching through... I was just watching a video, and this ad came on. I was like, oh, skip after 5 seconds. But it caught my attention, which never happens.
Oh.
And it was like these people talking about how they're fundraising, and they're kind of crowdfunding a TV show. And I'm like, okay, so it's like an animated show, all right. And then they start talking about, like, communism and capitalism. Like, okay, where is this going? And they start talking about how the show is going to be promoting the ideas of freedom and liberty and capitalism, mostly capitalism.
Mostly
capitalism.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into the political ramifications of this show. I'm not going there. I'm just going into the show as a show. But
what? But that's half the episode.
but what I mean is that anyways, so yeah, I saw this. I was like, this is so weird. And I was talking to Kyle last week. I was like, have you heard of this thing? And he was like, no. I'm like, just look it up. I think there's a pilot storyboard.
Yeah.
There's no...
It's an animatic video.
Yeah, there's no episode out yet. There's just the storyboard animatic. And you can watch that. It's not finished. The voices aren't confirmed for it. It's just kind of whoever they could get. And like Kyle said, it's strangely similar to Rick and Morty. Like, weirdly similar.
Even down to the fact that the guy's name who's making this is literally Daniel Harmon.
Yeah, and it's so weird. And I was like, this is so bizarre. I was like, Kyle, I didn't tell him what it was. I was like, you just watch this, or else.
Yeah. A wink and a nod to our famous segment.
Their award-pending segment. And I was like, just go for this, watch it, just tell me what you think afterwards. I'm not going to say anything about what this is about. Just trust me. It's a 20-minute animatic.
Yeah.
We could have watched Jupiter
so I was preparing
or whatever, but no.
I was preparing for the worst when he said this because, well, I think the week before or something like that, I'd subjected him to Pocahontas 2, Journey to a Foreign Land or some shit. You know, one of those direct-to-DVD Disney sequels, but you know, one of the bad variety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought maybe it was some kind of revenge tactic or something. He was sending me this, and it was going to be some kind of meme or just really terrible thing. And in the process of searching for it, a video was promoted somewhere, on like the third down or whatever, that was like the Tuggle twins propaganda, communism or something like that. You know, all kinds of like quite clickbait stuff that I was like, oh.
Big red arrows.
This is going to be like Christian youth propaganda or something like that. And so that's what I expected going in. And it starts off... Should we get into it now?
Yes. So the show... First off, I just want to say to people, see if you can find the advertisements for these online, because I have to say, they're really well-made advertisements. They're funny enough. And I think they actually do have like a good guy making the commercials, because like I said, it actually caught my attention. It actually got me to watch the entire ad. It was like a 2.5-minute ad. And I was like, I don't remember what YouTube video it was, but I hope they enjoyed that ad revenue, because I actually watched that entire thing. I don't know who it was, but hopefully they got some bucks out of that. Or pennies, you know. And Kyle, would you like to start us off? Because you took notes, I didn't. And why don't you... Because I made you watch this. I want your thoughts.
Yeah, you made me watch it, but I assumed that you knew fully what this was, and yet when I when I'd watched it, I sent you my kind of opinions / notes about this, and you were like, "Cool, I haven't watched it yet. Well, I'm excited to watch it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, what?"
I hadn't watched it. I had only seen the ad for it and some advertisements and some other like promotional stuff.
Yeah. So spoilers. This is edutainment.
100%.
The video starts with Daniel Harmon, Dan to his friends, addressing the camera, being like, "We're making a kids' TV show that Hollywood would never make," and I was like, "Okay, it's racist or something." Because, like, I think there was a period of time where, like, you might say something like, "Oh, Hollywood would never make this," about a crazy movie, about, like, a movie that's really out there and explores really creative ideas or something like that. But I feel now, in the current climate, when you say Hollywood would never make this, I get real right-wing connotations. I get real fucking conservative values.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, that's not good to start with. That is worrying me. He said, they'll never make this, so we're crowdfunding it, so here's an animatic. It's not finished yet or whatever. It's not the final voices or stuff like that. I'm like, that's fine. I'll forego any issues in quality.
But just quickly to interrupt,
I'll give you the gist of the story.
If anyone's wondering, this animatic, it's available on their Facebook page, I think, is where I watched it.
And their YouTube channel,
yeah.
Which is called I think it's just called The Total Twins.
Yeah, so it's free out there. You don't have to donate any. We didn't, like, put money into this. Don't worry.
Yeah, we didn't give them any money. Just whatever they got from possible ad revenue.
Yeah. But yeah, go on.
And so it starts, and there are kids selling lemonade, and a big kid who's, like, head of the, like, local kids committee or some shit. You know how kids have committees.
You know how they have, like, bureaucratic and elected officials,
yeah,
and people running around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is a very very American thing. Like, I was always confused about the idea of a class president in American high schools. Things like Fairly Odd Parents and stuff like that would throw that in there. Like, that's just normal.
Yeah, we have those in high schools. I think maybe my middle school. I know my high school did. They don't actually do. They usually are just the people who are like, okay, let's organize prom or something.
Yeah, they're like, we represent the student body and we talk to the school or whatever and address the students' needs. And I'm like,
fucking
get the fuck out,
You fucking nerd.
Anyway.
But I could go on off of my class president, whoever that was.
But yeah.
I'm vendetta.
Please do it. No.
We'll be here all week.
No. We'll save that. Back on tangent. So the episode starts that the big kid turns up and is like, I'm taking this lemonade because through bureaucracy and not through threat of violence. And they're like, oh, this is bad. This is I hate the way that. See, it hasn't taught me very well, this edutainment, because I'm struggling now to remember what the core message was. But they're like, yeah. So their message, because this kid has used a bylaw that she wrote into the kid's constitution or whatever to take the lemonade. Moral of the story or whatever is something like, people shouldn't be able to tell us what to do with their rules and stuff like that. That kind of thing. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is going to be like a comment on, like, gay marriage or something being passed as a law. And so, I was really, really clenching up here. Real apprehensive to watch this.
But cheeks just clenched together.
Yeah. And as the story goes on, it is revealed that it's not gay marriage they're against, and from what I can tell of the nationalities of the heritage of the family of the main characters, it's not even against immigration, as far as I can tell.
Until it is, Kyle. Until it is.
Yeah, until it is. What it's against is taxes on the rich, and the rich paying their fair share. They're arguing that, so, like, they journey through time on the grandma's, like, time machine rascal or whatever, powered by thinking juice, and they go to various points in time, like the cowboy days and the French Revolution and stuff like that, where thieves would take stuff and say, well, it's the rules. The rules should say, I've rewritten the rules that I'm allowed to take this stuff because I'm a thief and I don't want to work for it. Really, really putting down the needy. And they're like, no, they shouldn't be able to take that or make us give things away. They should leave it to us to give things away to people who need it. You know, like they're like, we're all for charity, but only the charity that we choose. Only for giving to the people that we think need stuff, or only for giving the amount that we think people need and stuff like that. So basically wealth hoarding. And it's real like pro-capitalism, pro kind of, you know, that side of conservatism. Yeah.
So
what did you think about it?
I was actually going to say, did you enjoy the episode? Like, aside from the edutainment, did you like it?
Yes. I did, actually.
I mean, did too. That's the weird thing.
Not because that's in any way my system of values, but just...
I found it funny.
Yeah, it was an animatic and whatever, and yeah, it was sort of, you know, a little bit brainwashy, trying to sell a point of view that I didn't agree with. However, it's kind of well made.
Yeah, and
the characters are kind of likable enough, and the premise is fine enough. I mean, it's Rick and Morty, but actually for kids.
Yeah. Or like Magic School Bus-esque, where it's like, fun little adventures, let's go inside your body. Or whatever.
Yeah, some of the jokes were pretty good.
However... This is the however part of the episode. This show... And I understand that some and this is educational or edutainment or whatever it's called. What's strange about this show is that it starts innocently enough. Right? Like, it has this innocent premise behind it, where it's like, oh, this is a show just teaching kids about these things. And you're like, okay, whatever. You may not agree with it, but fine. Okay, that's what you're doing. What's strange to me about this show is how it's made and how it's being made. You know? Like it's all been crowdfunded. They raised, like, $2 million through crowdfunding. Like, it's a lot of money.
I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily a lot in the context of making an actual TV show, but
I don't know.
I do think it's a lot of money to crowdfund for anything. Never mind something that is.
And it's for 6 episodes, I believe, 4 or 6 episodes. And so there's like a tiny miniature little season of basically this 20-minute episode. Because the whole show is being like, oh, we're promoting these ideals and these things, and I'm like, okay, fine, but like it. And I know some kid shows are fairly simplistic in how they present things, but I don't know, I feel like there's something different, like from the Magic School Bus, which is just like, here's some science, like this is your body objectively. Yeah. These are the things that you have arms and legs, probably. This is how they work, you know? But the show kind of presents everything as fundamental facts. And some of these things aren't... I'm not saying nobody has the right to own stuff. But it's strange that, like, it's taken a political meaning and it's turning it into a fundamental argument that children should believe. Which is strange for any stance, you know? And it's like,
it's so heavy-handed. Like, what age of child is this for? Because, like, this is so overtly edutainment. And I know that's not for us, somewhat grown men. But I know it's not for us. But it just seems so aggressively pointed.
Yeah. And it doesn't attempt to shy away from what it's promoting and the ideas of this. And I'm just sitting here like, I don't see what else this show can teach, really. Like, I guess it can keep teaching, but like, I wonder at what point this show falls off the deep end.
I mentioned somewhere in episode like 3 or 4.
Like,
if this was meant to be 6 episodes, I imagine this is the most palatable one. The gay marriage one is going to be like episode 4 or 5.
Like, there's only so much you can talk about when it comes to free market and capitalism. Like, it's okay, fine. Mm-hmm. But you can only teach so much that to children before you have to start going into, like, stuff that's, above their knowledge, really. And so at what point do they just start teaching, like, not just, as they put it, freedom and liberty and capitalism, but just, like, conservative thinking? Like, at what point does it make that leap, I wonder? And some people would say those two things are tied together, those 3 ideas and conservative, but I don't know if they are. Like, those things cross a lot in the Venn diagram, but at what point does it just become conservative?
It's interesting, because part of me, like, I want to really stand back and look at this objectively, the kind of the political aspect of this. I want to kind of be able to sit back and say, this is wrong because it is forcing a certain way of thinking or whatever on children and kind of indoctrinating them, and not be able to, and not have someone just be able to say, you just don't like this one because it's right-leaning opinions and not left-leaning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I mean, obviously it's difficult, it's subjective, because like it depends what you classify as left-leaning, I suppose. Because like if this was not an episode about the free markets or something like that, and this was more just about rights in general,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like everyone should have rights, and like the president of the kids club was like, she wasn't stealing the lemonade necessarily, or like, in fact, yeah, you could keep a lot of it the same. She's stealing the lemonade or not.
I did a bit of like research, and because I was like, let me just look this show up, and I just want to see what comes up. And there isn't much discussion about it on the net, except from, and this is what caught my, like, I started thinking about before I watched the show. And maybe this influenced how I watched it, but a lot of the places that reported on this were places like politicalpatrol.com. And you probably don't know what politicalpatrol.com is, and that's because nobody knows what it is.
Correct.
Or it's like faithbelief.net, or these very like third. I don't want to call them third tiers insultingly, but like lesser run blogs and smaller websites.
Mm-hmm.
And
the type of people who might have funded this,
yeah,
already, and they're spreading it because of that.
Yes, exactly. And what I found out is that the guys who are making this, the author of the books and the creator, so Dan Harmon, the creator of Rick and Morty, also creator of that, and not the same guy, it's the same name. It's very.
We should stress they are separate Dan Harmons.
Yeah. So him, the same man who's made Rick and Morty, they're both share. The article I read said that they share an affiliation with the Church of Latter-day Saints, which is a fancy way of saying that they're both Mormons, and they're both very I don't know. It's weird because sometimes they were called libertarian, sometimes they were called conservative in the stuff I was reading, and sometimes they seem to bounce back and forth between their comments and what they believe themselves to be. So it sounded like, depending on the website and who they were giving quotes to, they were kind of like fishing it, because there's some stuff libertarians believe that conservatives don't believe, and there's some stuff vice versa. And
yeah,
it's very.
So they were going where the money was.
Yeah, they're going where the money, like a true capitalist. They don't care. They're following the change. Yeah. And like I said, I don't want to get into the political ideals of the show so much, like arguing with what I believe is and isn't correct in the show and what they say. But I don't know. I find political leaning shows for children to be dangerous for any side, because I really don't think you should push political partisanship onto any child, really, because like.
But I think it's that line of where you're going to call something politically,
right,
and where you're just going to call it just basic decency.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this show, there's some, if you edited this episode a little bit, it no longer becomes kind of any kind of political stance. It would just become, these kids learn about how capitalism works, and how some systems
and not to
work.
be so heavily pro-capitalism.
Right, like there's a difference between being pro something and educating someone about something. And I understand this show,
because this is absolutely priming some kids to take on conservative views.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first step. So you watch a few Total Twin episodes, and then, you talk to your parents about it, and they give you their heavily conservative views, and it's less, it doesn't seem as much anymore. And then, you grow up more and you just start voting the same way they do, and you're like, but not just out of so much blindness, and more because of you've actually been indoctrinated.
Yeah. And I don't think that's good. I don't think it's good to indoctrinate children or anyone like that into political beliefs, because they're so young. They don't know what they actually believe. Like, kids will just, like, I used to say stuff when I was a kid. I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I believe that at all? That was dumb. And I didn't actually know. Yeah. But some people don't break away from their political beliefs that they have as children. That's why most politicians and people who talk about politics are children, because they hold the same ideals as when they were 10. I'm calling out most people with political beliefs. All of you. I don't care who you are. They're all dumb.
You get them.
I'll fight all of you. All 6 billion of you.
He's done it again. He's called out a mass amount of people.
This time it's millions.
Into a physical confrontation.
Millions.
He will almost assuredly lose.
It doesn't matter if I lose.
Just from sheer volume alone.
I'll fight every single one of you. But yeah, it's a fascinating show. Also, like this is about one of the websites I saw, but one of them was called like AR15.com.
Oh my god.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. I want to.
For or against?
I don't know. Let me look. Okay, I think I found it. Yeah, it's like a discussion board actually. And I was looking at this, I was like, this is so weird. And it was basically someone asking, I stumbled into this today and wondered if anyone is familiar with it or its crowdfunding project. I firmly believe that if we don't teach children the value of their rights, then the day will come, seems like it might already be here, that we won't have rights anymore. Your education system is trash, actively promotes the opposite of what so many of us believe. For the record, I went through the American, this is a little bit about my own political beliefs. I went through the American school system, old 12, 13 years of it, and I'm currently in college. I can tell you right now, the American education system did not make me a communist or a socialist or any crap like it.
No.
And I went to like what many of these people would consider crappy, or like I went to a wide variety of schools, crappy schools and really good schools. None of them promoted communism. None of them promoted socialism. Most of them didn't promote or do anything.
You know what?
Because they're just schools.
On a side note,
yeah,
it's funny how, have you noticed that both sides are like, the American education system is trash?
Yeah.
Because like, both sides equally have like examples that they point to of saying like, we should have been taught about this, or we shouldn't have been taught about this, or we should have been taught about this, but more from this perspective, or more equally, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides are like, the American education system is trash, and we have that in this country also. But I think like, to a lesser extent maybe, because like you were reading their comment from courtesy of AR15.com or whatever, and I was like, and I know I said as a joke, for or against AR-15s, but like if you read that really could go either way. That comment. Yeah.
This whole website is just guns. Build your dream rifle. I'm going to click on this link. Hold up. I'm going to build my dream rifle real quick. We're going to see how this turns out, Kyle. There's spots where we can advertise. Kyle, can we advertise our podcast on this website?
I'm going to say...
Yes. Cool. Not. Let's do it. All right. We're going to sit
some of that it comes out of your money.
Some of that AR15.com traffic.
Oh, boy.
Dude, this is actually kind of cool. Okay, build...
Imagine getting death threats and hate mail before you get any actual listeners.
That'd be an amazing...
That was where we were heading just then, with that idea.
Alright, back on tangent. Yeah, so that's what I find weird about this show. And Almost Dangerous is... Don't push political stuff on the children. And like I said, I've been through schooling. I even went through the American government classes and history classes. Most of them didn't teach any political stuff. They just taught you what happened in American history. And maybe you don't like that, but maybe that's not the fault of the education system, and more in the fault of the things that happened. But
yeah, that's just the fault of life.
That's just the thing that
of
occurred.
Human nature and whatever sordid shit they got up to way back before we had television.
We did some bad stuff. We killed a bunch of people, but whatever. But yeah, so it's fascinating, this show, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm like, it is good. There is a quality here in some of the jokes and writing.
There is, yeah.
But what I find weird about it is just how it's made, the production team behind it, the advertising. Like, there's nothing like this I can think of. And it's a strange animal, and I'm like, I kind of want to see this do well, because I kind of just want to watch it where it goes.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the rest of the episodes. If for no other reason than just morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Let's see where the homophobia episode is. I want to know.
I don't...
And again,
like I said,
for or against.
Like, I don't want to rag on it and say that, like, it's some conservative propaganda that's going to teach homophobia. But, like, it's going to happen, right? Like, surely it will. And I know the creators would say we do not promote the hatred of any... whatever.
Yeah,
but like
they've got to say that.
But it's got, like, you're gonna run out of capitalism and pro-free market stuff. You're not gonna. There's a well there. They're gonna dry up. You know.
Yeah.
Kids, do you want to learn about producer surplus and consumer surplus?
Stocks and/or bonds.
You're gonna learn all about it. Like you're gonna
Oil.
Oil.
For or against?
Coal. Let's talk about how great coal is.
Yeah.
I hope this episode gets us into some political arguments. I've been very nice on this thing. I could go in on this politically, but I'm not. I'm going in on it as a show.
You absolutely could.
I would never. I don't think this is. I mean, obviously it's for children, so why would I watch it? But I think I would watch more of this if there is more of it, and I would just want to keep an eye on it just to see where it goes off the deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Anyway.
that's my final thoughts.